So what other techniques and strategies have you found to be particularly helpful for people?
Yeah, there are lots and lots of different types of strategies, and part of the danger can be when we're exploring for ourselves or giving advice to people are overwhelmed by all the different options. So there are 5 things which I think are particularly useful, and most of the techniques that we have been discussing and most of the best ones fall under one of those headings. So just quickly to run through them, maybe we'll discuss them in more detail. First of all, it's about connecting with other people.
Right.
That's important. Comes in different shapes and sizes. The second one is keeping physically active in different ways. The third one, which is commonly referred to, is to be compassionate, to have empathy and generosity regarding others. Another one, which is not so well known, but actually really good evidence about the effectiveness of it in terms of self-care, is to learn a new skill, which is a very powerful way of mental activity being used to protect mental health. And then fifthly, it's about being able to be comfortable and grounded in the present moment, which again comes in all different shapes and sizes. Because part of the danger in mental health issues is that we are drawn away into things that are not about where we are right now. So those are the 5 areas that most people would say are part and parcel of a general strategy towards looking after yourself psychologically.
Okay, so if we start with connecting with other people, sort of, what are you thinking about there, or what can people do?
To focus on just 2 main aspects that often come up. First of all, about the period of transition. People changing job, changing house.
Becoming a carer, so
becoming a carer, absolutely.
Someone's health is suddenly deteriorated.
Yes, that is a risk factor for social connections. Some people find making friends or developing acquaintances or having good connections quite easy because of the sort of person they are and what they've been doing. Other people struggle a little bit more for different reasons, and it means that if they do move or if they do get disconnected, they find it quite hard to make friends again. So the key point is that during periods of transitions, it is worth just monitoring how connected you are with other people, and to make new friends. And of course, it need not be making a new very close friend, because that's some relationships progress to that and some don't. And the golden rule here is you need to just create opportunities and be in situations where connections can be made. So different people do that in different ways, but that's the first issue about transition.
So support groups and
support,
things
absolutely,
are really
definitely,
good.
definitely. And it's also about even if you do have significant care commitments, and it can be very difficult, if it is worth prioritising trying to maintain such friendships and connections that you do have that are not connected to the person that you're caring for, to have a chance just to communicate and connect with other people. It needn't be a deep connection. It might be that you are part of a pub quiz team or a football team, or going to watch a sporting event with a group of friends. That's fine. That is absolutely fine. The other area is that when we're not feeling at our best, for whatever reason, we do tend to allow ourselves to be disconnected to some extent. We don't, if we're feeling depressed or even just a little bit of low mood, we are more likely to decline an invitation. We're more likely to find an excuse to not go to the quiz night. We become much less likely to organise an event amongst friends. And that's partly because our system is starting to become very threat aware, and it's looking for threats everywhere because it feels that's what your system needs to defend itself. And in evolutionary terms, if you do have low mood, it does keep you away from other people. You're less active, and you're worried about getting into situations you can't handle because you're not at your best. So your mind starts to create a tendency to avoid other people. You start to not enjoy other people's company as much. The thing to remember there is that it's a false alarm. Your mental machinery in that situation is like a smoke alarm. It's explicitly designed to go off way below the threshold connected to the thing it's designed to protect you from. So smoke detectors are really just let you know there's a fire, but it'll go off if the toaster pops off very often. They're deliberately setting a very low threshold. Our mind can be like that too when we are depressed. When we're depressed, we've got a very low threshold for threat.
Okay.
So we see things which are ambiguous or mixed, or things about which we have little information, as being much more likely to be a threat to our well-being, a threat to our self-esteem, a threat to our ability to be effective in the world, and so we avoid them. And of course that's a vicious circle. So if you're a carer and you feel down and fed up, pessimistic, and it's good to sit and think about why did I turn down that invitation? When was the last time that I organised a night out for my friends? Maybe involving the person you're caring for, that's your call. So those are the two main things about connectedness. First of all, periods of transitions put connections at risk, and you will benefit from monitoring changes and engaging in situations and opportunities where new connections can be made.
And I think one of the things that, as you were saying about not maintaining existing connections, it can be very easy for those. I mean, just in life generally, as people get very busy, people move and so on, it can be harder to maintain some of those connections. And sometimes even just going through an address book or a phone book and thinking, I've not spoken to that person for a while. I know one of my friends who often when they struggle, they find it very difficult to get out of the house, and that automatically cuts a lot of connections. And one of the strategies they found helpful was saying, actually, could we just arrange like a video call or a Skype? So actually, we might do a once a month Skype where you're having a conversation, you're interacting with them, even though they're struggling to get out of the house.
And that can be very positive, particularly when, in practical terms, if your friend is far away. But I would counsel just a little bit there. One of the things which is important for depression and anxiety is that we develop coping mechanisms, and some of those coping mechanisms are to do with withdrawal and avoidance, and they do perpetuate the sadness or the anxiety that caused the problem in the first place. So Skype calls, absolutely, they're a good thing to do, but if they were stopping the person from going out of the house, then that is something you've got to count. So no problem with that activity at all, but again, the fundamentals are still true. Did you have an opportunity? Do you have an opportunity? Will you have an opportunity to go out and meet your friends? And are you turning that opportunity down? And if so, why? And what are the pros and cons of you declining these opportunities? They will perpetuate your sense of isolation. They will make you more pessimistic. It will make you more likely to interpret ambiguous or contradictory, mixed signals as being negative. The research shows that. So by all means, manage the situation with some sort of contact to keep friendships alive, but don't allow it to replace the thing you really want to do, but you might have been avoiding.
Okay. Was connections, then you were talking about physical activity.
Physical activity, yeah, absolutely. We do know that engaging in 30 minutes of exercise that makes you a little bit out of breath for 3 or 4 days a week will boost your well-being, but that's quite a high threshold for many people. But whatever works for you is good. You can overdo it a little bit. I mean, the general rule of thumb is that, and this, it depends on context, but generally, people who are going to the gym twice a day is too much, probably. In terms of physical benefit, there's a law of diminishing returns, and it starts to feel a little bit like an addiction, perhaps. So there can be too much of it, but that's very rare. So we do know that proper exercise is good for your physical well-being. You feel better about yourself, and it's good in that regard. But also in terms of doing some activity, it's important. It's good to do physical activity in the house if that's where you are. You may not be mobile particularly yourself, so it's a little bit more difficult to be outside. But again, if you feel anxious or depressed, then going for a walk is incredibly powerful for well-being. To try and do, I say to my clients, try and do at least 30 minutes walk a day, if you possibly can. And if you don't do it, have a reason why you didn't do it, and not a reason, not feeling like it isn't good enough. And well, I did one yesterday and I'll do one tomorrow, is not good enough either. You want to commit to it and keep going. I do recommend that you do a circular walk rather than from X to Y and back to X,
Right.
because it gets a bit boring sometimes, but it's okay if it's not. People say, well, I'll walk the dog, and I think, well, okay, that's fine. It's better than not doing anything at all, but a lot of it's about the change in behaviour. So if people walk their dog regularly, I say, well, keep on walking the dog, but treat yourself to maybe 3 times a week going for a longer walk without the dog.
Yeah.
Because what is it about walking that's nice? Well, first of all, it's an activity that you see yourself doing, and you feel, yep, I'm doing something to deal with my mental health. Physically, it's good for your health, and burns up the calories, that's fine. It also allows you to walk around and see things and observe things, and I sometimes invite my clients to take photographs of the most interesting thing they've seen in the walk so far. Not people, because that raises other issues, but places. And even a little thing around saying to a client, and we can do this ourselves, if you're on a familiar walk, before you go on the walk, think about what when you think about that walk, what are the images that come into your head, and those will be probably the key landmarks that you pass every day.
Okay.
So I say, when you go past these key landmarks, look for one thing that you haven't noticed before.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah? And it's a nice little exercise, and it improves motivations. People are like, Patrick's asked me to do this walk, and I've got to look at something, look at the building, and find something. Okay, it's a little bit more motivation.
Yeah. It gives them something to focus on and something to think about.
It does.
Okay.
Absolutely. It gives them something to focus on. And it's part of that general principle about, managing your attention, looking at the here and now. You might have walked past that grocer's shop 300 or 400 times.
Yeah, and never really noticed.
And never noticed the fact that the sign in the window is actually an angle.
Okay.
You never notice whatever. And it's just that principle about, bring yourself into the moment, be aware of the here and now, and to know that you can do that. To know that your mind need not be driven by habit. Because anxiety and depression are not caused by habits, but they are often maintained by habits.
Okay.
Now, looking at a grocer's window will not stop your depression. But having confidence that your mind can have a more focused approach to the here and now, and it doesn't have to be driven by the things it's been driven by before, is a very important kind of insight. So is that. But generally, about physical activity, it's good to do it with someone.
Okay.
I think the general principle I say to clients is, if you can do physical activities such that maybe half of it is with someone else and half of it's on your own, that's great. So maybe half with the dog and half on your own.
Yeah.
If you live by yourself, if you're caring for someone, then it can be beneficial for them, obviously, to do a little bit of physical activity. And that's great, and where possible, you can explore trying to make sure that happens, but you should also try and find some time for yourself.
Okay.
So walking is a good place to start. Other people enjoy swimming, and that's great. The only thing I would say is that swimming is basically water, and there's not a lot to see, but even then you can observe certain things. Walking is always an exploration, and even the most familiar of places allows you to discover new things or old things that you just haven't seen before. So physical activity is very important, and it's something about making sure that you reflect upon where you are and who you are and what you're doing. Not to a very intense way, but just to allow your attention to be part of your body and to recognise that the way that you can improve your well-being is by recognising that much of what we do in automatic pilot, and some of those automatic activities are thoughts which are holding us back and maintaining low mood and maintaining anxiety, and we can break that vicious circle.
I hope you found this course helpful. At FCC, we're committed to providing courses and training for unpaid carers, and these courses are completely free. If you found this helpful, you could support our work in 3 ways. Please recommend it to any friends or people that you know that will benefit from the courses. Please consider sharing it on social media. And if you can, please consider donating. There are buttons on the website where you can donate £1, £2, £5, and every pound that you donate will make a huge difference by helping us make more and more care courses completely free to carers. Thank you very much.